Okay.
My name is Janet Bailey. I'm here with Frank Jankowski Jr., former owner of the Frank's Boat Rentals in Strathmere. My name is Janet Bailey, by the way. I'm doing the interview for Strathmere Improvement Association. So here we go, Frank. You've been in the news lately.
Oh yeah. Okay. We'll start with
with your big,
my big flounder. My biggest, as a matter of fact, my lifetime fish right now. Previous to that, I had my heaviest was 8.5 pounds, and this one went 9 pound 3 ounces. And I was out fishing with my wife. We had nothing but shorts for probably 2-3 hours, and we were getting close to quitting. And but she doesn't like to quit without something to bring home, and neither do I. So we stayed a little bit, and all of a sudden the rod went, and I said, "This is candy. Grab the net, because it's going to be this is a good one." I didn't expect what it was, but I knew it was going to be a keeper. And so I'm bringing it up, made 2 dives underneath the boat. And of course I'm on the stern, and I'm worried about it getting wrapped around the motor. And by now I really know it's a decent fish. So we get it up, and I can see it. I said, "Wow." Candy says, "Wow." And I think she's a little bit more nervous than I am, because she's got a net to fish. And anybody who knows anything about netting big flounder, you got to do it right. And we got it up, and I said I had it horizontal in the water, and it was about 6 inches out, and it was calmed down. And I said, "Candy, when I say go for it." And I brought up a little bit more, and I said, "Go for it." And she went for it. I went for it, and just ran right into the net. And and then we got on the deck, and I said, "Wow." She said, "Wow." And we just sat there for 30 seconds and just looked at it, because it was such a nice fish, and then we started talking about it, and Morgan was going to, Well Creek Marina was going to close at 6. This was about 5:30. Well Creek Marina is going to close at 6 o'clock, and of course I wanted to get it in there to get it weighed and officially. And she said, "No, let's fish another 15 minutes or so." And I said, "Okay." Well, after about 10 minutes, I said, "No, they close at 6 o'clock. We're going to go in there." And we went in there. And of course, we had it measured. And of course, everybody said, "Wow, wow, 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 wow."
What a great
and we couldn't get out of there for a while. Okay.
Yeah. Frank, you've been in Strathmere for
since 1950. I was 6 years old, and 51.
Your dad came and bought you?
Father bought, it used to be called Oscar's Boat Rentals, and that was back in, I believe he came in town 1928 and started the boat rental place then. And how he got down here was similar to, I guess, my father, and we'll go into that later. But he was in the way of the he lived in Camden, and he was in the way of the Ben Franklin Bridge. And so I guess they gave him X number of dollars to, okay, here it is, you got to get out of here. And I guess that's how, from what I understand, and I talked to his granddaughter about this, and she said that's how he wound up down here. He went and said, "Okay, I'm going to do something I want to do. I got the money now." And he bought the place, and he started it. It was called Oscar's. And then in 1950, my father bought the place from Oscar. And my mother was tired of moving around from state to state. She's had 5 children, and everyone was born in a different state. He was a civil service engineer for I guess it was the Army. And so that's how we wound up in Strathmere. Yeah.
At that time, the Coast Guard station
was here. Yes, it was. Yes.
Across the street?
Yes, across the street. Supposedly that was moved from Ocean City into Strathmere for some reason or other. I don't know why. From what I also understand, it was in the 20s, maybe early 30s. I'm not 100% sure of that. In the boathouse here, there was a winch that they used to bring their boats up and down with a couple rails there, and that was manufactured in 1938. That was on a on that winch there. And what else I can tell you? Well, you know, I grew up here again. I'm 12, 13, 14 years old and hanging out with 18, 19 years old.
Sailor.
Coast Guard, yeah, Coast Guard, yes. Okay. And I got an early education. That's all I can say. I got an early education.
Yeah. So they left town though.
They left town due to the helicopters. I was in the Air Force when they left, and that I went in the Air Force in +61, got out in '65, and I don't believe they were here when I got out. They were here when I went in. And the reason being, they could get to issue on a helicopter faster than they can run a boat out of here. And now the other issue is when they left, the government maintained our inlet on a regular basis. It was light. I mean, it had buoys, lighted, but when they left, you know, the government, they said, hey, we don't need to keep this inlet open anymore. And that's when consult local law. If you're going in and out of the inlet, just talk to local. They call it consult local law. So that was the as much as I. And the other thing about the Coast Guard, and why I don't like to play cards. Just don't like to play cards. When they needed a fourth over there to play cards in the evening, and if they didn't get their fourth, they would come knocking on my door and say, "Come on, we're going to play cards," you know. And I was never a great card player anyway, except for poker. I always enjoyed poker. But the canasta and the gin rummy and pinochle, I guess they called it. You know, I just
played it all.
It wasn't for me. but they would drag me over there, and instead of pull me away from my homework of all things.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Then your dad just opened up the bait and tackle.
Well, he actually was. Well, okay, the bait and tackle was very, very limited back then. And I wound up with my brother bought. I don't know what their deal was, but my youngest brother, wound up with it. And you know, it's a mom and pop business, and his wife wasn't particularly into it. He wasn't a fisherman, outdoorsman, and it was, you know, going down the tube. And I don't know what the deal, but anyway, I bought in 1983. I bought the place from my brother in '83, and it's, you know, just started building it up, and within 3 or 4 years, I had it going very smoothly, and it was a success. And I ran it actually my wife ran it for the first 10 years. I was just a man behind the scenes, keeping everything floating, getting the minnows. I was working with a NCR company. I was a tech rep for them. And I knew it wasn't going to last till I was 65 with them, so that's when I decided, well, you know, let's buy the place from my brother and we'll go from there. But she ran it for 10 years. I still stayed with NCR and just was the man behind the scenes. She did a great job out front, and I kept all the motors running and the boats running and going to minnow and still maintaining a 40-hour plus a week job. And those 4 or 5 years were pretty tough. Trying to build our home back off of shore. And what I really got from my brother was a mess. So the first couple years, I'd come home from work, you know, 5 o'clock, 5:30, and there would be motors that needed to be repaired. Eat dinner, and just might as well chain me to the motor barrel, because I'm not going to go anyplace until I got 2 or 3 more motors ready to go for the next day. But eventually, you know, like I say, between her and I, we started replacing everything, and within 4 or 5 years we had everything replaced. We had built our home offshore again, and then in I guess it was 10 years, roughly 10 years later, so it'd been 93 or 94, company gave me a early out. I took advantage of it. I had my 27 years in, and you had to have you had to be 50 and have 25 years in there. I had 27 years. I turned 50 by 6 months. I made a phone call to Candy. I said, "Hey, we got medical and spending money for the rest of our lives." You know, so I gave him my notice, and so I had it. You know, so I was the main man for the next 25 years, I guess, and then. Then she went back to work. Yeah, had a couple of kids to put through college, so she went back to work, and she still works 3 days a week. She doesn't have to, but I don't know what she does.
I heard she's quite a fisherman too.
She is very, very good, and probably rather fish with her than anybody because she's enthusiastic and she knows what to put in the cooler, because that's what I like. You know, after all these years, she should know what to put in the cooler. Yeah.
Do you have any special funny stories you like to talk about?
Well, I got one story here. I think I saved the Deauville from being burnt down one night. Now this was back in, of course, now this is when I'm not driving yet, so it's before I'm 17. And we did a lot of hitchhiking. That's how we got out of town, you know. I guess I was heading over the youth center in Ocean City, and I'm standing on the corner of the bridge right here, right on the Commonwealth, and whatever that street is down by the Doe, and I see sparks going, and it's blowing. It's one of those winter nights, and it's blowing about 35-40 degrees, and it's going to get down to 35-40 knots, and it's going to get down to 25-30. It's one of those November nights, and I see sparks flying across the highway, towards the beach, and of course there was on the other side of the Deauville, I believe there was Fleming's or Daglishes, but anyway, it's now the beach bar. I thought they had the fireplace going, and these were just embers coming out of the ceiling there, or out of the chimney. And I didn't pay too much more attention to it. Then all of a sudden, I'm looking at it, and it's a string of embers now. And I said, this is, something's going on here. So I looked over there, didn't see nothing at the house there. Then I looked at the Deauville, and one of their neon lights is burning. And the flames are now coming out of this I guess the soffit or whatever you want to call the edge of the roof there where these lights were. And I said, so I immediately ran over, and Charlie and Madeline, I banged on the door, and I said, I think you got a fire up there. They ran out and got a fire. They sent a alarm out, and the Seattle City Fire Department got there before the Strathmere Fire Department. So, I don't know if I should say that or not,
sure.
but that's the truth. I grew up here. Another one, which I guess my very first paying job. And again, I'm probably 12, 13 years old, probably younger than that. There's a fellow in town called Jack Daglish. In fact, I think he used to own the Deauville at one time. He had a couple of homes in town here, which he rented. And this one was right up on the back beach side of the Balados, or Harker's Corners, most people knew it. And he lowered me into his cesspool with a pair of hip boots on. Now, granted, nobody had been using the place all winter long. He gave me a shovel, and I was shoveling the roots off of his septic, or cesspool, we called them back then. The roots coming into it, and that was my very first paying job.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sounds a little sneaky, though.
Yeah. But like I said, no one had used it for all winter long, so it was nothing but muck. And after that, I got money in my pocket, so I started working around town. Delivered newspapers. It was the Evening Bulletin, and that was roughly, I might have had 22 customers at one time. Wow, that right here in town, yeah, 22 customers. I went from Whale Beach down to the Point, Carmonas. Lived down at the Point, and there was George McGoy. They were winter residents, and that was two of my these 22 customers I had. I clammed, I minnowed, worked the dock for my father, and until that was with my father. Until that was, here again, we were hitchhiking all the time back. This is before I was driving, and I wound up on the Ocean City Beach Patrol. which was kind of unique. I had no intentions of going there, but I was meeting a girl. It was my sophomore year in high school. I'm meeting a girl over there, and we're going to meet at Flanders. I get over there, and I see a whole bunch of people down on the beach, and then I talk to somebody, and someone says, "You have to lifeguard tryouts." Well, since we hitchhike, you're always early. You don't know when you're going to get there, so you start early. So I signed up, and I said, "Okay, I'll go swim out to that flag and back." And anyway, I'm going away out, and I'm passing a lot of people. I was on a swimming team in Ocean City, and I grew up there on the bay, so naturally we all swam. So I'm passing a lot of people. Hey, this is kind of around the flag. I still got some people ahead of me, but now I'm passing a Strathmere lifeguard, and I thought, hey, I might as well just kick it in and see where it goes. So I really started swimming hard, and I came in number 6, and they had 6 openings for the Ocean City Beach Patrol that year. Yeah. So and that's how I wound up on the Ocean City Beach Patrol. And my Al Bundy story, I was the 1961 singles champion in Ocean City.
Congratulations.
Yeah. They called me the Bronze Husky after that. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. How do you see Strathmere now? Big changes?
A lot of changes. I'm not necessarily against it, as long as it's not dirty money. And I know I've worked hard all my life for what we have, and we're very comfortable. And only do good partner and hard work. And if these people have worked hard all their life, and which they obviously have, God bless them. This is what they want. Yes, they don't build bungalows in town anymore. I don't think they build bungalows in Seattle City, Ocean City, Avalon's doing. Hey, it's the way it is. The one thing I would have liked to have seen, we had a push for septic or sewage lines, whatever you want to call them. The MUA authority, we are actually allocated, and there was a uprising. He's going to change the town. Well, the town was changing anyway. So anyway, I was against that, but hey, it is what it is. That got shot down, and
maybe in time.
I doubt it. Now they had a good reason too. Not so much the MUA. Once it was shot down, and even it was going to be so expensive for so few homes that it was going. Back then, there wasn't that many homes here, but enough to. They still said it's just going to be cost prohibitive, but we still were all allocated, and of course it was shot down.
It's still a little piece of heaven, don't you?
Oh, paradise.
Paradise.
Yeah. Oh no, definitely is. It's probably the last of its kind on the East Coast. You probably have to go down to the Carolinas or up into Maine before you find something like this.
Where's Strathmere? Nobody knows Strathmere.
No, well they know where it's at now. Yeah, they know where it is now. I was going to tell you another little story, but it's gone. It's gone.
Well, it's been enjoyable talking with you. I hope this comes out
okay.
good, and when I get to look at it and see it, I'll make sure you get to see it and everything. And,
okay,
I
very
do
good.
appreciate it. And,
Okay.
I'm going to turn this off now.
Yep.
Enjoy your retirement.
Okay.